Welcome back to the Luminary Life Update podcast, the only podcast hosted by yours truly, Vague Luminary, aka Spencer. Today's episode, first of all, let's establish, it is currently 5:37 a.m., September 4th, 2019. I guess I'll just open by saying last month has been very fucking wacky, alright? We'll go into further detail on everything, but last month's episode, I recorded on August 2nd, and it went up, I believe, August 31st. So, not really anywhere near the kind of immediacy that I want from my podcast. But, again, fortunately, in the early stage and, possibly eternal stage of no audience on the internet, don't have to really worry about those things, so that's cool. I still feel shitty for not getting things out quick enough, but, at least it's up now, so that's cool. And I got it up before the month ended, so, again, that's great. This is the post-August recap, I suppose, in some degree, as much as every other month has been a recap, I suppose. And, let me find out how many more times I can say I suppose for absolutely no reason. So anyway, this is kind of an impromptu episode. I woke up at 1 a.m. trying to re-fuck my sleep schedule into a point where I go to sleep at like 8 or 9 a.m. and then wake up around 4 or 5, and we'll explain that a little later. Anyway, let me just make a little note here. Excellent, okay. Anyway, let's just jump right into it and do the absolute state update. We're just going to go over the total numbers. I really do need to figure out exactly what I like to do for each of these. But, this is the most inefficient podcast there may ever be. I do make notes about topics, but I don't hardly ever, go into finer detail, because I kind of like to keep it more, I already mentioned this, but I like to keep it more human, more kind of spur of the moment, kind of like, ooh, I wrote down this like 2-word thing or like one sentence, and I'll just go into multiple paragraphs about it. So anyway, we've waited long enough. The absolute state update. As of September 1st, games went from 318 to 318. Pretty cool. Games wishlisted went from 550 to 564. Anime to watch went from 713 to 716. Manga to read went from 96 to 98. Books to read is still 6, as it has been since March, because I have not read those fucking books, but, they are higher up on the to-do list than usual, so maybe we'll get some progress in soon enough. Anyway, the total has gone from 1683 to 1702, mostly because of the games wishlisted part. So that's where the absolute state is at. Now, it's time for the IRL update. So, what happened between August 2nd and now? Well, my birthday was on the 9th, as I believe I explained. I turned 23 years old, and it was pretty great. Everything about it was really cool. I got some pretty nice gifts. I got a belt. I've been out of a belt for a few months, but my pants are snug enough that it wasn't that big of a deal. It's just that I like to have a belt. I got a pair of earbuds and a bunch of other stuff. So that's cool. Well, I don't want to make it sound like I got like 20 things. I got like 5 things. But anyway, it's not about the gifts. It's irrelevant. I had a nice dinner. My cousin came over. My whole immediate family celebrated. And it was really cool, except like socially, the actual like celebration itself was kind of shitty. And I've been very open about things in the past. I don't want to go too into detail, but it was a very negative emotional experience for me in the grand scheme of things. But that's kind of like the default for my life, kind of, is that I've had a very cushy existence where it's very easy for me to survive, and I never for a moment think that like I'll ever have to starve or ever not have a home to go home to or ever have a shelter. So I'm very fortunate, but socially I've always felt very negatively about the experiences that I've had, and I was very sad and kind of depressed that my birthday was very negative based. It wasn't that anybody blew up or anything, but basically just my family members kind of went off and had their own kind of conversations, which just kind of left me sitting there for like an hour, which I think was pretty shitty because it was my birthday. So I would think at least the one day you want to maybe fake interest in my hobbies, because none of my family really like is into video games or anime or anything like that. So you'd think the one day they could maybe fake it or say, "Hey, what's up with you? What are you really excited about?" Or whatever would be my birthday. But alas, didn't happen. So that wasn't really cool. There was in fact at the end of July. Here, my mouth's really fucking dry. Hold on a second. Nice drink of water. Anyway, at the end of July, I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but there was also another really negative family experience before. So those two back to back just really just fucking put me in this weird funk where I didn't really want to talk to anybody. I was very isolated. I couldn't really enjoy any of my stuff. So this whole month, actually, I made very little progress generally. So putting up last month's episode on the 31st, and knowing how much progress I made that month and how little I made this month allowed me to say ahead of time, I'm going to name last month's episode 2 steps forward and this one 1 step back. So, yeah. On the school/career side of things, also pretty important, right? The school quarter starts September 23rd, so I have until then to figure out if, I really want to lock down getting a job or what I want to fucking do. My mom has started to not push me, but is really kind of floating around the idea of me getting some kind of English degree, just anything related to writing or maybe being a critic or whatever. And I think as fluid with words as I can be, I don't think I could be a critic because for the most part, I only really get into things when I already know I'll like them for the most part. And it's very easy for me to like something because it's not about like if I like something so much as like, does this succeed at what it does, and are there other people that like this thing? Now, it doesn't mean that I'll just like anything, because I do still have strict things that I'm looking for, but it's like when I first got into anime, I was really into, really mature, dark, psychological, intellectual shows, and I still do. Those are still my favorite kind, like Evangelion, Serial Experiments Lane, Technolize, and the like. But, at some point, I realized that cutesy girl anime is still totally valid because, like, that's what people are looking for, if you just want a show that you can just chill and have a good time with, So I kind of opened my eyes to the fact that, like, when it comes to enjoying new things, you really just, if you can just be not cynical about it and say, well, does this do what it's trying to do for the people that want to watch it or want to play it or, whatever. It's not so much about what you specifically want to see and what you're looking for, so much as finding things that you may not be interested in that are like really, really good in that area of interest that you don't have very much interest in. Of course, this boils it down to requiring a base interest in a lot of things outside of your like direct obsessions. And, things that I don't care about whatsoever, such as rap and hip hop or whatever, I'm just not going to fucking look at. But it allows me to, things that I'm at least like a little bit curious about, like electronic music, I can give that a gander every now and again. And, you start with the good stuff and then you kind of expand out into what is more obscure and more specific, because, mass appeal will appeal to everybody, but the sooner you can find stuff that appeals directly to you, the better. But my point with that, going back to the critic thing, that's where it spawned from. In that last couple sentences, I was like, God, where did that even come from? I don't think I could be a critic because I only look at things that I'm interested in, and if I just don't think I'll like something, I just don't watch it or I just don't play it. I just basically scrub it from my brain and say, whatever, So there's that. So yeah, I don't think I could be a critic. I could analyze things and say why I really love them, but I don't see myself as being able to be a reviewer because I would just give really good grades to most things, and people would maybe think I'm a shill or something. And that would be kind of against the whole point of being a reviewer if people thought you were a shill, because then they would think that would basically invalidate all your reviews, right? So I like to talk about the things I love, and there are a lot of things that I love in video games and anime and music. But yeah, anyway. So I don't know if I'm going to go for anything like that. I've been really against going for some kind of degree because I never want to take another math class. I just despise the fact that you have to take all these other classes that are completely unrelated to your degree. Like, because, you're there for college, so you're also going to take all these boring, like, generic high school classes. You're going to take English classes, you're going to take math classes. You probably have to take a science class or two, I would think. But, yeah, just that shit. I'm just so, like, not interested in. I won't need a math class for the rest of my life. And I can tell you right now, I'm definitely confident enough and happy enough with my skills in English that I don't think I'll ever need another English class. Thank you. So, I don't know. That's all still kind of up in the air. We'll find out next month what happens, because if the school quarter starts and I don't sign up for anything, then I will genuinely go into job searching mode, because then, like, I won't have a fucking excuse, right? Because this whole time I could argue that, like, I just didn't get a job over summer because it's between quarters. But, got a lot to think about, got a lot of time. I have to figure out what I want my end goal to be. A lot of me really thinks that streaming would be my end goal, but that's not going to fucking happen unless I start streaming, right? That's the core problem. It's very easy for me at 23 now to see people that are 18 or 19 and already being successful on YouTube or Twitch, and I get jealous. I can tell it's jealousy. But the reality is, and I'm 300% aware of it, the reality is they put the time in, they put the effort in. No entertainer you've ever seen has it super easy, or at least, like, so a Hollywood star, they get paid to act in a bunch of fucking movies, and then they have all this fucking money, and you can say they have an easy life. And maybe they do at that point, but, they have to put in a lot of time to go to the shoots and go through makeup and keep their bodies in this certain shape or whatever for this movie, blah, 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 blah. One of my favorite YouTubers, Digi, he just pretty much endlessly talks about the anime he watches and his thoughts on all of them. And it would be very easy for someone that doesn't really think about it to be like, oh, well, that's fucking easy. How does he make so much money? And the reality is that he has to put so much time into making the videos and editing them, and then going through the process of, so it's not only like recording your thoughts, right? But also you have to then, like, hit the stop recording button, save it somewhere on your computer, and then put it up on YouTube and go through the process of waiting for it to upload and process and all that shit. And just, yeah, it's just like there's a lot of, like, miscellaneous extra little details to work on the internet that really just makes it genuine work, So, if I want to get into streaming, there's no way that, like, it's ever going to fall into my lap, right? There's absolutely zero way for that to happen, unless you're a tiny streamer and you get a raid from someone, like, absolutely fucking massive, right? Then you might get a few hundred follows, but, other than that, The only way for it to get going is to fucking do it. So every moment I spend not doing it and talking about streaming and not actually streaming is just me being, a lazy piece of shit. And I'm glad, I'm really happy that I'm self-aware about it and that I'm not ever like, well, when I stream, I'm really entertaining and I'm really cool, because like, no, I'm not, right? Or at the very least, if I am, I'm not doing it enough for people to notice me, right? So it's all about putting the fucking time in. That's the reality. So yeah. That's about all I got for the IRL update, I suppose. I kind of want to get through the episode a little faster because my mom gets up by about like 8 a.m. Well, she ships off for work at about 8 a.m. So I started the episode at about 5:17, I think, or something. No, 5. I don't fucking know. Anyway, right now it's 5:53. I started like 5:30 something. Anyway, 5:53 right now. So I've got, like another hour to kind of do stuff without anybody being awake to be bothered by it and or come check it out and interrupt everything and make me lose my train of thought or whatever. Anyway, let's talk about, what did I finish? Well, believe it or not, I finally got back on my bullshit around August 23rd. It took me pretty much an entire month from July 20 something to August 23rd to get back on my bullshit. Get back to, getting through my daily YouTube videos and then just like spending the entire rest of my time playing like my specific game or whatever I'm doing. And I finally managed to do that, and with that last little week of August, I went really hardcore on finishing CrossCode. Yes. So, since I listened to my August podcast just a few days ago to put it up, my thoughts on it are still very kind of vivid and what I explained in that fucking podcast. And I think that's the most passionate I'll probably be about it. And that makes it almost sound like I didn't enjoy the game, but I did significantly. It had a good ending, and honestly, just what I said in that past podcast is what I still feel. The combat and the puzzles got more and more ridiculous as time went on. The combat got really difficult, and then in the end game, I spent like 5 hours just grinding out items and doing all these trades to get like really just overpowered fucking end game gear. I leveled up to 64, which is the highest level enemies can get to. And then once I finally did go back to finishing the story, it was like 2 hours long, and all the enemies were like 55. So it was just a total fucking cakewalk. But I love it. That's what I love about an RPG, being able to level up past where you should be for that area, right? If you go out of your way to do all the side content, you're gonna come back and stomp the main game. That's just one reason why I fucking hate Destiny, because Destiny never gives you benefits for being overleveled. It only punishes you for being underleveled. So, if you are like a level or two below an enemy, you're going to take a shitload more damage and they're going to take way less damage. But once you do finally get to level 7 and you fight the fucking dregs or whatever, they're going to do as much damage to you at that exact moment as they will once you're like in fucking endgame with an exotic piece of armor and 3 legendaries. It's like, why? What the fuck? Who thought that was a good idea? That's fucking awful. Stop. I don't care if it's for balance or whatever. You figure your game out. That's not how levels work. So, yeah. You can make a game where levels aren't really that important, but then if that's the case, it typically rides completely on the gear. And in Destiny, you can have, like I said, max level and end game gear, and it won't make a fucking difference compared to being in that area with like 2 greens and 2 whites when you originally were there. It's fucking stupid. It's so stupid. It just drives me insane. Anyway, CrossCode doesn't make that mistake. Yeah, fucking great game. I really can't like go into super passion mode because I just blew my nut last podcast on it. So again, if you think it looks like a game for you, it is. and it's fucking great. I think what really brought me into it was it reminded me of playing the Mega Man Battle Network games that I played when I was a kid. I played number 3. I had both versions of 3, and then I had Team Proto Man for number 5 on Game Boy Advance, but then I also got Double Team DS, which was sick, because it was literally like, okay, here's a Game Boy Advance game, except now it's just upgraded every capacity, including the music. So that was really cool. It was really, really cool. I love it. And it gave you 2 save files. Wow. So you could play both the Team Colonel and Team Proto Man versions on one little cartridge, which was fucking sick. And you could bring in your Game Boy Advance version of 5, obviously my Team Proto Man version, and you could bring over your folder of chips or some other stuff, which was really cool. And there was this whole there was this whole system where you could like bring other navies around with you, so you could like switch to your team members outside of the dark missions. I can't remember whatever they were called. Anyway, playing CrossCode reminded me of that, and it was really cool because the Battle Network series is one of my old favorites, even if I've only played, technically 3 out of like 8. There's 6 games, but after 3 they were all doubles, so that's 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 8 games plus 9, 10. So there's 10 games. It's pretty ridiculous. Anyway, CrossCode is absolutely delightful. There will be battles that make you fucking livid. There are bosses that you'll be like, that's a really dumb mechanic, but at least they all have mechanics. They all have little things to learn. That's the best part. So yeah, you can turn on an assist mode that will let you calculate the damage and health of enemies, as well as the speed of puzzles by 5% increments, going from 100% down. And I highly recommend trying to get through the game without turning on assist mode. And I managed to do it, and you actually get a stat tracked on your statistics that says time played and then time spent in assist mode. And it feels good to have that 58 hours or whatever and have 0 seconds in assist mode. Lastly, I want to mention, when you finish the game, it puts you in this weird space area, and it gives you 2 choices. You can go forward to the right, and it will say, this is the post-game chapter that hasn't been patched in yet, so you're going to have to wait until we fucking update the game with it. Or you can go back to the past and go back to the start of the last chapter with all your gear and stuff, and you'll be able to skip the final raid and the final dungeon when you get there if you want to. So that's cool, but it's still just really weird. It makes me feel kind of like an incomplete ending, even though it would have been complete if it wasn't for that little tidbit. So now I just have to wait until that content is added, and I don't know when it's going to be. The next thing they're patching in is New Game Plus, so that'll be cool, but I really want to see that post-game DLC because it was a little hyped up the story a little. So yeah, CrossCode, fucking sick. I love it. Great game. And that brings me to my second little meme here, and where my mouth is still dry. One moment. Seeing that we're so far through at only 23 minutes, I apologize if this is a shorter episode, but I have one topic that I hope I will be sufficiently extensive in my reaction to. But anyway, second game, Ace Combat 6 Fires of Liberation. Now, this is a little bit of a wild card for me, because I have a friend who grew up playing the Ace Combat games and is just a total fucking nut for them. They are his series, as far as everything's concerned. He's a god at playing them. He's played all of them on the highest difficulty multiple times, all that kind of bullshit. Yeah, it's just he I've known him since sophomore year in high school. He's a year younger than me, and he's been talking about them for the longest time, and I finally played. So when it comes to Ace Combat, from my understanding, quick little retrospective, I wanted to use this game as a point to talk about my general feelings about Ace Combat as well. And the general retrospective of Ace Combat is it started out, first of all, it's a Japanese game published by Bandai Namco, I believe, and it's made by a special team of developers called Project Aces. I don't know exactly what developer they're from, but anyway, it started out as a arcade game called Air Combat. I guess I should establish off the bat, if you don't already know, Ace Combat is a dogfighting, like aerial plane combat kind of game where you fly around a bunch of jets and you do a bunch of objectives and blow the shit out of people. It's pretty cool. So it started as an arcade game called Air Combat, and then they had their first home release on the PlayStation 1 called Ace Combat. Then there was Ace Combat 2, and then Ace Combat 3, Electrosphere, which takes place in like the far future, and you like fight in space with like planes with lasers and shit. And it has this really like super long branching story with like all these anime characters, and it's like super fucking long on PlayStation 1 and everything. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the Japanese version. If you get the American version of Electrosphere, it's like way more stripped down, and like the story like is basically non-existent. So that's kind of unfortunate. Apparently people believe that well, I don't know why I say that. That makes me sound really apprehensive about it. I guess I should just say Ace Combat 3 is considered like the best, at least the Japanese version, but because there's no like officially translated version of that iteration of Electrosphere, that most people in the West haven't played it, so there's that. However, Electrosphere would be the last Ace Combat released on the PlayStation 1, and then it was followed up by 3 fucking bangers in a row that the community loves to refer to as the Holy Trinity, all released on PlayStation 2. Ace Combat 4, Shattered Skies, Ace Combat 5, The Unsung War, and Ace Combat 0, The Belkin War. So the chronology goes, as far as I know, 0, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 3. Because 3 is super far in the future, there still isn't a game that's caught up to it, and 0 is a prequel. So that's cool. And I played through the Holy Trinity. I borrowed it all from him. I played it on my old dinky PS2, hooked up to a tiny little CRT that I keep around because it's the last CRT in the house that still looks pretty decent. In general, it honestly might be the last CRT in the house in general. I really need to find another one, probably, for my own fucking reasons. Because, like, I absolutely despise how the PS2 looks on an HD TV. It's such a fucking shame. I absolutely despise the fact that that even happened. That they made HD TVs for the sake of the future, and they never for one moment thought about, like, well, what does everything that's already out, like VCRs and like home consoles, look like? Are those going to look okay on modern TVs? No, they really don't. They look like fucking garbage because they took advantage of how CRTs worked. I don't know. I'm not super well read on the topic. All I know is that if you plug a old school, basically any console before the 7th generation, I believe, with the PS3 and the 360, anything from the previous generation like the PS2, the GameCube, and the Xbox, or earlier, will look way better on a CRT because that's what they were built for, and that's why games that you play now, if you hook up a PS2 or whatever onto an HD TV, that's why all the games look like garbage. They don't actually look like garbage, it's just that they're not built to be put through this HD process. So, yeah, it's very unfortunate. It makes people have a shittier perspective on old games than they really should. But anyway, played through the Holy Trinity back in January, and they were all pretty good. I didn't feel like they were absolutely fucking mind-blowing. They did what they were supposed to do. They were really fun games where you could play as a multitude of planes, and you get objectives ranging from like, hey, help out our ground forces blowing up a bunch of howitzers or bunkers and shit, and like defend people from the sky, and like, oh, sometimes you have to dogfight other planes and shit, and it's big. It's like this big scale, like Dynasty Warriors kind of thing, except it's all like modern military shit, and you're always flying a fucking jet around. So it's pretty cool. The 3 games really kind of bleed together for me in terms of the gameplay, but they all have a very distinct voice to them and a distinct style. 4 is very much just kind of like a badass Top Gun kind of thing where you're just like a lone pilot kind of that just like single-handedly turns the tide of the war. And all the cutscenes are anime and like animated by Studio 4C, who I only know because they animated the shitty Berserk trilogy of movies. Um, you know, and I mean shitty Berserk as in like the original Berserk anime and the manga is way fucking better. So just watch the old Berserk anime in dub and then read the manga from the beginning to the end. That's all you got to do for Berserk. But yeah, the cutscenes aren't like super anime. It's more of like still shots and then going to another one, going to another one. And it tells the story of I think a journalist or just like a young boy that befriends like the enemy squadron that you have to deal with. And so you kind of see their story through his eyes, and your character has basically no like lines or like any like bearing on the plot in terms of like their personality. They're really just a fucking blank slate. Ace Combat 5 is this really cool story that has to do with like conspiracies and like being betrayed and like all this cool stuff. And I don't know, I really like it. It's very anime. The cutscenes are in CG, but with like very clearly anime art style models. And it's fucking sick. I like it a lot. It's my favorite of the Holy Trinity just because its story is the most interesting or the most fun to me. And Ace Combat Zero is more serious. It's more, okay, I'm going to say it's more intellectual, but at the same time, it's still not very intellectual because your wingman, you fight a fucking war throughout it, and your wingman just becomes increasingly kind of like dissatisfied with how the war's going and just starts to despise the concept of borders, and he kind of goes rogue and shit, and it's all like, oh, why do we have to have borders? All this other shit. Basically, if you've played Metal Gear Solid 3, it's that, but like not nearly as well done. Okay, it's basically that. So, you play Ace Combat for the gameplay, but I do like to enjoy the story when it's there. So, the Holy Trinity, 4, 5, and 0, that is their release order. And then they made a sixth one that only came out on the Xbox 360. Now, my friend who played Ace Combat was a strictly PlayStation kind of guy, so he got a PS3 when that came out. He never got a PS4 because he ended up switching to PC that year. So he had never played Ace Combat 6. So I was like, I'm going to have a super Chad Big Dick energy moment. And I found a used copy of it at a game store in like Seattle or something. Picked it up, and I've just been kind of lording it over him. And so now that I've finally played it, he's getting to play it, and he's having a blast. You know, he's glad to fucking play it. Ace Combat 6 is another solid entry. It's got everything I expect from it. The gameplay is really solid. It's my favorite gameplay yet just because it's a lot clearer on an HD TV, because now I can play it on an HD TV than a small little CRT. So that's great. But I would say the story's probably the weakest of all four because it just doesn't really have a voice to it. It doesn't have a distinct personality. It just feels like another Ace Combat game. So Ace Combat 6 came out in like 2008 or 9, I want to say. Either way, it was the last generation. And then after so much time away, there was a fucking spin-off that was absolutely garbage called Ace Combat Assault Horizon that featured this really shitty mechanic called dogfight mode where you could hold a button and it would just basically lock you in place following a guy so you could just shoot him freely. Which is just super fucking stupid. And it had AC-130 gunner missions, which is so stupid. That's not what Ace Combat's about at all. And instead of being like a fictional reality called... all the other Ace Combat games are based in a universe called Strange Real. And basically, it's, you know, Earth, but just like completely different planet names. And people speak English still or whatever. So, not planet names, continent names. So you have like Erusia and Osea and Emeria, Estevakia, Euctobania, etc. And then fucking Assault Horizon, I think, is in like the real world, and it's about like fighting the Middle East, and it's like, God, how fucking like tasteless could you be? So nobody liked it except for casuals or people who'd never fucking heard of Ace Combat before. It was the classic strategy of, well, you know, we can't really get Westerners into our Japanese series, so we're gonna have Westerners develop it and see what happens. So they tried that with Devil May Cry. That's its own story. Anyway, um, so after Assault Horizon, there was a weird mobile-esque game for PS3 that came out called Ace Combat Infinity, which had a bunch of fucking missions in it, and you could do all this stuff, but it was really weird, and it had this like dumb fuel mechanic, like a fucking mobile game where like you can only play this much each day, that kind of stupid horse shit. Like, what are you doing? But then eventually an Ace Combat 7 was made, and it came out earlier this year, I think in February. And as far as I know, it's pretty good. Not quite on the level of the Holy Trinity, but it's pretty fucking good. So that's also worth checking out. It's on every major platform except Switch, probably because Switch couldn't handle it. It's on Unreal Engine 4, and it's a very pretty looking game, I will say. So yeah, you can get on Xbox One, PS4, and PC. So yeah, Ace Combat 6, yeah, it's a fucking meme. Not exactly my favorite series by any means, but I'm glad to have played them. And again, I came at them from the angle of like, what is there to appreciate here, rather than like what will play exactly to what I want and what I want to see and what I want to do in an Ace Combat game. It's more about understanding that I'm an outsider and trying to respect and appreciate what other people have come to like from the series. And if it's such an established series, clearly it must be doing something right for them to make so many entries, right? So it can't just be some soulless garbage, right? One would think. Ugh, I'm kind of tired. I need more water. Okay, my glass is empty. Let's hope I can maybe finish this before That's weird. It's saying it's only 36 minutes. Has it really only been 36 minutes? I don't believe that. That's a little too fucking crazy for me. Whatever. Anyway, now we're moving on to the other topic section. My glass of water is in fact empty now. Or you could say it's completely full of air, however you want to look at it. So yeah, that's how things are going right now. I've never had to drink this much water before. I'm kind of tired, I'll explain my sleep schedule thing at the end here. So, first of all, this month I made no progress on Fist of the North Star. I feel kind of bad about it, honestly. While I was about halfway through CrossCode, I genuinely was like, man, I wish I could just watch some Fist of the North Star right now. It's been fucking wacky, honestly. I never thought I would be this desperate to watch more fucking Fist of the North Star, but yeah. I finished CrossCode, so with no progress, I'm at 82 out of like 148 or whatever the fuck, right? With no progress... God, that's what I just fucking said. Anyway, so yeah, no progress. Feel kind of bad about it because the plan was and still kind of is. I don't know. I've got to kind of reassess things. That I'm going to watch each part of Fist of the North Star and then play a game in between, and we're gonna see how that goes. I think it was a mistake to play CrossCode, maybe because it was like 60 hours, so it really took a long time to get through, mainly just because that whole month of just fucking shit where all my stuff was just discombobulated. But once I did get back into it, I was really happy with it. So bottom line, no Fist of the North Star progress. The next thing I'll probably play will be I've been wanting to check out Red Faction. I played the original Red Faction, not the original. I'm sorry. I played Red Faction Guerrilla back on 360 maybe like 8 years ago. It's been a long fucking time. I now own all Red Faction games on Steam, so I've been really interested in playing Armageddon, even though I've heard it's not as good as Guerrilla. And the original two Red Factions are actually first-person shooters that I have zero experience with, so I'm pretty stoked to play those, knowing that those two alone will probably be only like, 7 to 10 hours long. That's going to be really easy to fucking accomplish in like 2 days, maybe 3 days. So that'll be a good way to just, fill in just like a little bit of filler space without just launching into something huge. Before, I was planning on playing probably, oh man, leaving all these yawns in just because I can. Fuck you. I was planning on playing Hollow Knight, and I still do. Obviously, it's not that I'm now just like, well, now I don't care anymore. It's just that I'm like, I don't know if I want to play another like 50-hour game in between parts of Fist of the North Star. So, yeah, I'll be getting back into Fist of the North Star soon, and we'll be looking at, in general, what my immediate to-do list looks like pretty soon. Next up, well, I already explained, the entirety of August has been a fucking nightmare. Only got a grip on things around the 23rd. Yeah. Here's another thing I wanted to address. So, in the past few months, I don't know how long it's been around, actually. I want to say it's a 2019 meme. I'm talking about memes now. Let me just set the stage. I'm talking about a meme now, a certain meme template. It's been around for at least a few months, maybe since like February, maybe even November. I don't know. Anyway, it is the nobody, blah, 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 blah meme, where it's like, nobody says anything, but this person still does this thing. These people still do this. This character still does this, right? I've seen a recent backlash where every time somebody posts a nobody meme, somebody will respond saying like, look, I cut the nobody from your meme and it's still just as funny. Fuck you, buddy. And I think it's interesting that we've gotten to this point in society where people are so cutthroat about meme templates that they are like, yeah, well, actually, this meme template's fucking garbage. I don't know. It's just weird to see. It's really weird that somebody could just be like, it's not funny anymore. So as soon as you see the first guy do that and fucking reply to somebody's post and be like, Jesus Christ. And be like, I cropped the nobody off your meme, and look, it's still really funny, so fuck you, stop. Why'd you even put it there? Like, it's completely unnecessary. And then they get like 200 points on Reddit, and everybody's like, yeah, you know what? That is a fucking dumb template. And it's just kind of weird to me, because it's reminding me of, my general distaste for the modern meme template landscape, kind of. I don't know if I've mentioned this before on the podcast, but I was a older member of the meme war, in the sense that I've been into memes since 2009 when I made my Facebook, and memes didn't really hit the mainstream in society until like 2014, 2015 maybe. So it was really weird when that started happening. But yeah, so I back in the day, back in my day, you'd post a meme, and a meme was a picture of anything, of whatever, a funny face, whatever, and then a caption, maybe a plate of really ugly looking fucking food, and then you'd say, go over to grandma's, like, it's like, boom, the fucking plate of food, or whatever. But the point was that the photo itself was not inherently funny. The comedy came from the page that was posting its caption and how it related to the photo. Now, the caption is baked into the meme, which means that anybody can just copy it and, not, like, lose any of the fucking meme value. Whereas back in the day, you could share it by either screen capping the post, or, you would share the photo and give the same caption, right? So, I don't know. I think it's interesting that now people are saying that, like, there should be less caption built into the photo. And I know that's not directly what they're asking for, technically, but it is a thing they're asking for nonetheless. Oh, man. What is wrong with me? Anyway, yeah, that's just something that's been really interesting to me. And I think that if you made a general public call to stop putting nobody on memes, people would be mad. But if you post a nobody meme and then somebody responds saying, fuck you, buddy, then they get hundreds of upvotes, and it's generally accepted, at least on that post. So it's just really interesting that one person can have the audacity to say it for a post and have everybody agree, as opposed to having it be like a generally community thing. Now, admittedly, I haven't seen anybody in a general community say, "Hey, we should all stop saying nobody on our memes," but I think the reason that hasn't happened, it would be pretty pointless, not only for the sake of, I think it's such a mundane thing that doesn't bother enough people that it would never get any traction. It'll probably just go away after a certain amount of time. So, God. Ugh. Oh man, I don't even like physically feel tired. I'm just like tired in the head kind of, but like my body feels fine. Anyway, we're on the last topic now already. I know, we're only 45 minutes in, I guess. Wow, this is going to be a real fucking short episode. But I guess, hey, I didn't really finish that much. Didn't make much progress. All I basically did was finish CrossCode, and then I did Ace Combat right after, and that only took 2 days. So, anyway, it is... Oh, man. It is fucking... Again, I'm leaving these yawns in just because I can, so deal with it. If you're really tired, fuck you, go to sleep, I guess. But because it is September 4th, we are 1 day away from Gears 5 launching, at least the Ultimate Edition, because I'm a gross Gears fan, and I just had to buy the extra $20 version of the game, of course, or whatever the fuck. So... yeah, I'm fucking stoked. I did secure it. I'm fucking pretty stoked about it, as I just fucking said. So, what's the current to-do list looking like? Well, I finished Ace Combat 6 on the 31st directly, so that put me in this weird position where I'm really, really, really stoked for Gears 5, and I'm really hyped about it, and I'm going to probably bust into detail about it. But, I was left with like 5 days where it's like, what do I want to do, right? I could have probably watched an entire part of Fist of the North Star in 5 days. It would have been like 4 episodes a day. That would have been totally manageable. Or no, that would have been like... no, it would have been 4 episodes a day. Okay, because it's only like 20 episodes a day. Not 20 episodes a day. Oh my god, 20 episodes apart, roughly. So, I could have done it. But I didn't want to, because I didn't want to force myself onto it. I just wanted to get it done on my own terms. Jesus Christ, this is probably making this completely, unbearable. I'm sorry. This is just how it is at this point. If it makes it a really shitty episode, that's whatever. The second episode, when I finished the third episode, the second episode had 2 dislikes. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, so, hey. I think maybe if I just lower the quality of the podcast even further, maybe I can get more dislikes. That'd be pretty cool. Anyway, so I chose not to watch more Fist of the North Star or play Red Faction before Gears 5 came out, just because I'm so hyped for it that it's like encompassing and eating all of my excitement for other things, right? So I've just been playing Minecraft with my classmates for the last quarter. God, this is fucking ridiculous. I don't know what the deal is. I might need to go grab a do if this fucking keeps happening. And I've been playing with them since the end of last quarter, so it's not just like a spur-of-the-moment thing. But we've just been working on a bunch of shit. I have this massive pyramid that I'm working on that I need a shitload of white stained glass for, so I just started building this massive melon farm so I'll be able to compost it all into bone meal and make a bunch of white dye. Anyway, yeah, so I'm just kind of drifting these 4 or 5 days until Gears 5 comes out. And Gears 5, let me tell you, I'm fucking stoked. Earlier I said I might break it down into further detail. Right now that the tiredness is coming on, I don't think I can, but let me just say, you've got campaign, versus, horde, and escape. All 4 things of those I'm really looking forward to, actually. So, campaign, now, instead of being super linear, Gears campaigns have always been super linear with like really epic set pieces. Now, Gears 5's campaign is actually going to be like semi-open world. Some of the levels are going to be really big and be non-linear, and there's going to be like a little bit of RPG elements to it, and you can upgrade Jack, the drone that has all these special abilities now, and it has 3-player asymmetrical co-op. It's like, whoa. Versus. Gears is my favorite multiplayer franchise. I've talked about that just before. Horde is looking like the best iteration yet. It's the 4th time they've done Horde, and it genuinely just looks fucking awesome. They fixed a lot of things, such as a over-reliance on fortifications that I think happens in 4, and they made it more about just the characters themselves that you're playing as, and what you, the player, want to do and use as part of your loadout or whatever, instead of just like waiting for the fortifications to go up and then just using the same weapons every time over and over and over. In Gears 4, you had to play Scout, and you could get double power if you picked up the power that enemies drop during the wave. In Gears 5, there are absolutely no perks related to power, so everybody can pick up the power, and when you pick up power, it automatically splits it between everybody. So now there's absolutely no question. If you see power after killing an enemy, just fucking pick it up, and it'll be great. You'll get a bunch of power to everybody else. Excellent. The sound of the running water from the toilets upstairs. Excellent. Yeah, Horde's looking great. And Escape is a completely brand new mode that's 3-player co-op, and it's basically an endless runner in Gears of War, where you go to a fucking swarm hive and you plant this green toxic bomb, and then the room slowly fills up with green gas, and you have to just keep fucking running forward and picking up ammo along the way and fighting through enemies and shit to get the fuck out of there, with the poison green gas slowly filling in behind you and damaging you or killing you if you're left behind in it. So it's looking pretty fucking sick. And Horde, it's character-based now instead of class-based, so every character falls into some kind of subclass. Well, not subclass, just a class that will have a passive and like a series of cards they can use. And every character has their own unique ultimate, and every character has to be leveled individually. And now you'll unlock at least level 1 of every card just through progression, through levels, and then if you want to get duplicates to level them all up, you can do that. Whereas in Gears 4, you need to acquire all the skill cards through random chance, and then you could start just putting currency directly into them. And as a result of that, there's still some Gears 4 cards that I don't fucking have, like fucking 3 years later. Which is ridiculous, and I put a lot of time into Gears 4, as you would imagine, as it's my favorite multiplayer franchise. So anyway, it's looking fucking sick. It's gonna be great. I'm gonna totally no-life the fucking shit out of that game. I can't wait to fire it up on launch night, hook it up to my TV, get all comfy, fucking spend 5 or 6 minutes going through options, maxing my sensitivity settings, and slapping on skins and looking at other customization items, and then just fucking hopping directly into the campaign and probably no-lifing it. And where I can finish it in one sitting or not, time will tell. If not, I'll get off a little bit early, knock out all the daily challenges, start grinding out the medals, which are like the greater challenges over the course of an entire tour of duty, which is like a month or two. And yeah, hey, I've got so much to fucking do in that game as soon as it comes out, and I'm really stoked about that, because there's so many games that come out. Well, I don't want to say so many games, but something like Black Ops 4, right? It came out, and technically, yes, you have a lot to do based on like the direct challenges in the game, but I've always seen challenges more as like bonuses you can do for XP rather than like you want to do all of them. And I think that's just because I got on the Call of Duty train with Call of Duty 4, which back then like there was no reason to do them other than XP. And then it wasn't until Modern Warfare 2 where titles and emblems became a thing, and therefore were worth doing challenges for, I suppose. So, yeah, I don't know. basically Gears 5 is going to launch with content that I want to play and that I want to play to unlock stuff. So they're basically paying me to play the game, and there's not going to be any loot boxes of any kind. The only microtransactions will be you can buy characters directly and you can buy weapon skins directly, but it won't be any fucking random chance bullshit. And honestly, that's the best we can hope for. Truly, the best case scenario is absolutely no financial bullshit in a game after you drop $60 on it or $80, whatever. But at least if we can get rid of random chance bullshit, that should be greatly applauded. And the ability that if you really want a specific thing, you can just fucking shell out $3 or $4 for this specific thing. If you really want to play as this motherfucker, there it is. And also, anyway, any characters they add to Horde or whatever that are playable and shit, you'll also be able to unlock just through playing the game. So, hey, boom, And you can say, well, what if the grind's going to be really bad? It could be not. I'm probably 50-50 on whether or not it's going to be a big grind. But, if it is a big grind, I'm a huge Gears fan. That's not going to fucking bother me at all. I'll just do the fucking grind. So, yeah, I'm super stoked for Gears. I can't wait to fucking chainsaw through enemies and fucking cover kick people and just nasher my way through a crowded room of swarm motherfuckers, It's gonna be biblical. I'm so fucking stoked. Right now, of course, it is 6:34 a.m. on September 4th. The game will be live for me at 5 p.m. on the 5th. So it is 36 hours away, roughly. I'm so tired because the past few days I've been trying really hard to stay up until like 6 or 7 a.m. and then going to sleep, but that just means I end up waking up at like noon or 1 p.m., which isn't good enough. I want to wake up directly around like 4 so I can like just, get a meal in, grab some soda, and then just like boom, go right into it. I don't want to wake up like at 5 or like right after 5. I just want to be there just a little bit early, so I can be ready the moment it can launch, right? So, yeah. So this is my last ditch effort. I went to sleep at so I got up at I think 2 p.m. maybe on the 3rd, and then I think my plan was to take a nap, which I technically did. I went upstairs at 9, fell asleep around 10 p.m. and woke up, set an alarm for 1 a.m. and I woke up at 1, but I didn't get up until 2. Played Minecraft for a couple hours to just kind of like wake up and be ready to record the podcast. This is another reason why I had to fuck up my sleep schedule so I would have a time slot to do the podcast in, because I wanted to get it done early in the month. Technically I never set a stipulation to do it at any specific point in the month other than it would be monthly, but I would like to get it done somewhere within the first week of the month. So I'm glad I can record it right now, So, hopefully I'm going to go back to bed in, 2 or 3 hours. It'll be 8 or 9 a.m., which is a total degen sleep schedule. But then I'll wake up at 3 or 4, like exactly where I need to, and then I can just be fucking ready for that and hopefully just repeat that into tomorrow and, play the absolute fucking shit out of Gears. I'm 2 sleeps away from playing a new installment in one of my favorite franchises in gaming. How fucking exciting is that? Life is a very exciting time, and I'm very glad to be here, no matter how many things and forces try to keep me down and try to shame what I like and what I stand for. I'm just glad to be here, and I'm glad there's still cool stuff coming out for me to check out, alongside the untold ocean of cool things that already exist for me to check out. It's just insane how many cool things there are that I'm interested in, and I really want to just experience all of it, man. I'm sorry this was a shorter episode. That's not really due to my tiredness so much as it's due to just not having that many things to talk about. But, alongside Gears, well, the reviews are out now. The reviews came out 37 minutes ago. I'll be looking at that right after this. Next month I'll be able to talk about my reaction to Gears 5, what I think about everything after a month of playing it. Yeah, we'll also know at that point if I'm in school again for something or whatever the fuck I'm doing, hey. So, thanks again for listening. This has been the Luminary Life Update Podcast, episode 4. I will try to get this up before the first week is over. Probably, hopefully before Gears 5 comes out, because otherwise, it might just be another 31st upload, so that's a thing. Anyway, I hope you have a good day. I hope you have a good week. I hope you have a good month playing Gears 5, maybe, huh? Play it. All right. Bye-bye. Take it easy.